Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Hello, everybody. We finally got him. We finally got Harris Pilton.
I know. Not easy.
Welcome, Harris.
We do have Harris.
I don't pop my cork for every girl in town.
No, but Michael's stream has been struggling, so this is going to if this doesn't go well, it will destroy his channel, and rightly so.
I've lost subs since it's been advertised. Don't panic, we're getting back.
Mine have been fluctuating. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, we're only going nowhere fast, to be honest. I haven't done a video for 2 months. So.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. Hello, Michael. Hello, Harris.
Afternoon. Morning.
Morning, yeah.
Morning.
So, your house is on fire.
Have you got a banner? Have you got a banner for this? Normally you have a banner prepared. He's like all over the place. We've been up for ages. Michael's been in bed trying to get him up.
Mum's gone. Everybody's gone.
Right.
But your record collection, you've had it appraised, and the valuation is at your attorney's, 3 different copies, so no worries there. The constable is going to allow you to go into your house to get 10 records. What records are they?
Okay, who's starting off?
Who you like?
Well, I've got a little bonus feature here on mine. So
what do you do with a bonus feature?
Yeah.
Well, then why don't as the host, you allow me to go first?
Okay. All right.
Sounds good, Michael.
I was going to say we could start on a high, then have you as you go. We go down, and then we could try and finish on a high.
Always start with the support act.
Yeah, if you want to ruin it straight from the off. Stop laughing, Michael. You're losing the audience.
Okay. So
we've got to hang on. Can we say hello? Let's say hello to a couple of people in the chat.
People watching.
We have Ian.
Hello, Ian.
Ian.
Good lad.
And also Mike.
Spiral.
Hello, Mike. Mike's one of Spiral.
Oh, he's a legend.
The British are here.
Legends of the VC. UK VC.
The Mount Rushmore of the VC.
This could be it. We could be presenting to an audience of 2. But that's okay.
All right. So your house is on fire. House is on fire. Go, Michael. No rambling.
Okay.
This is funny.
Now, let me tell you, I don't have much heavy metal in my collection. So this supersedes all heavy metal for me. Right? Most important record, I saw them do the show, saw him in New York at the Cafe Au Go-Go. He smiled the whole time. This is how John McLaughlin, for the whole show, I swear to God, like 90 minutes.
Why are you saving him? Why are you saving him?
Most important record of my early listening days, because it began to cement my own taste, where I said, I like this, I don't like this. I'm not relying on friends to tell me what to like. Make sense?
Okay, moving on swiftly.
I know, I'll speed it up. Mad Shadows. Okay. Important record. Found it myself. FM DJs, right? And I only listened to the first side for most of my life. And I only discovered the side B 10 years ago. But I've had it the whole time. 1970. Went out and bought it. And also in my 10 is this. So these are so important to me that I'm grabbing 2 by the same month.
So it's important to say this is early Mott here.
Oh, yeah.
Not later Mott, it's early Mott.
All young dudes, anything thereafter doesn't do a thing for me.
Okay.
Only early Mott.
I don't even know that
because
one.
They were a proto-punk band.
Yeah.
According to Mick Jones of The Clash, used to follow them around all the time. And they were produced by really crazy guy Stevens. who would do crazy things in the studio, like set fires in the studio.
Okay.
I
Well,
got
your house is on fire, so that's quite relevant, really, isn't it?
Come in handy.
I have to show this. You've seen it before. I'll be quick, but I'm lucky. Very important movie. Very important soundtrack. It just is. I have to keep it.
I need to hear that. I've seen this shown a few times. I know of it, but I've never heard it ever.
You have to see the film.
No.
He's obsessed with it.
It's Alan Price, who is the singer for the Animals, and Lindsay Anderson produced the movie. He wrote it with Malcolm McDowell, and in this movie, each cast member plays 5 different parts throughout the movie, and it's like 3.5 hours long. And Alan Price is in the movie, so the soundtrack is part of the movie because they're filming Alan Price in the studio, and that is why I find it so interesting. Therefore, so I know these records, like I know every inch of these records and listen to them all the time. So therefore, I'd want to keep them.
Part of your personality, I've noticed, Michael, is part of the cast of Oh Lucky Man. It's just something, particularly the finale scene. It's almost like you're in it. Your personality is in it. For better and worse, people can make of that what they want, but
Maybe I'll give it a miss.
Yeah.
I'm razzing you. Oh no, I've got to see it.
But Lindsay Anderson, that was part of a trilogy, wasn't it? Oh Lucky Man.
Yeah, but the other two are not that good.
What was the other one? If is wonderful.
One was If. The first one was If, about the boarding school.
The boarding school. That was wonderful. If, favorite film.
Everybody.
Great film.
The tiger, the girl in the cafe. That's where my personality is.
Okay, I definitely want to see it now. If is amazing.
And Britannia Hospital.
Yeah.
Did you see that? No.
What's that?
No.
Forgettable movie. Britannia Hospital.
No.
Was the third in the trilogy.
Yeah. That's the weaker one of the trilogy. But sorry, carry on. I've disturbed your flow.
The Move. What I love about this is all the talking, right? All the banter that goes on where they interview taxi drivers and people on the street and interlace it with all the songs. Now, I mean, Hello Susie is the rocker, but Don't Make My Baby Blue and The Last Thing on My Mind. I mean, every song is fantastic on this record. And it's the only Move record I have. You're
yeah. Roy Wood,
beautiful.
Right? And this is Roy Wood.
Yeah.
At his best, maybe. Yeah.
I see that record a lot second hand. Fairly reasonable, actually. But yeah, I mean, I love The Move. So yeah, maybe I need to check that one out.
I've given it a miss, but if I see it again, I think I might get that one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. See that a lot as well.
Rubbish.
I don't know.
He's serious. He's serious. It is the most hard driving blues rock album. I know every inch of this record. Every inch. From the moment it hits. I'll listen to both sides.
For me, it's like that blues band in the pub, and there's people blocking the door, and you can't escape, But
whoa, who's blocking the door? As a man,
because lots of people like Michael, they're loving the blues, they're coming in, and you feel very claustrophobic. Oh God, when does this end?
Yeah, you told me to, mate. I'm not give it.
Very good.
Hello.
Little Feet.
Okay.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
I don't like
popular. Very popular.
Yeah. It's the only one. Anything after this is just college beer bash music. But this is just a marvelous record. Covered by Golden Palominos.
Okay.
No, yeah.
I know them.
Yeah.
I need to explore Little Feet. I think I might
like
me that too. One, the girl on the live album, isn't it? The live album, Girl on a Swing. Or something on a swing.
Do you have your sick bags with you?
Oh, here we go. It gets worse. Go on.
It's a tolerance level here.
Oh, yeah. See, I like that record.
I'm sorry.
It's a great record, that.
Sorry.
Explain.
Very, very important record. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's like 30 minutes aside. I mean, this is there's so much music in it. It's so dense. It just
Yeah.
goes from both sides, jam with songs. Never Neverland.
Yeah, love it.
For those that aren't familiar, what is it?
It's Todd Rundgren's A Wizard, A True Story.
It's Todd Rundgren's arguably worst phase, and that's
That's most important record.
No,
I tried to dip into it, but I'm sorry.
No, I'm a fan. Mine's on a single, which is horrendous because it's
What do
60
you mean,
minutes. Mine's definitely on a single disc. I'm certain of that, and it's ridiculous. 60 minutes on a single disc. It can't cope. But I like it. I'm a fan. I like it.
It's ambitious, you know. So ambition is sometimes good, sometimes not good.
The song with Archer. There's a song called Archer. Something.
Zen Archer.
Love that.
Yes.
Song. Love
Yes.
that song.
Da Da Dolly.
Yeah, it's a great tune.
Last two. I'll be quick. Ready? Okay. Very, very important. Okay. And actually, I listen to this more than I listen to this. But I have to have them. Made the most important effect on me as a youngin. So
As a youngster. So this is right. Yeah.
I've never heard a 70s Genesis record in my life. Someone told me to start with The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. They thought I would like that. Okay, interesting.
you want to start?
I mean,
with,
I can go to Ripples and, you know, Carpet Crawlers, things like that. I quite like that kind of rock vibe, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, Supper's Ready, Please Kill Me Now. You know.
Do you like those two albums, Stevie? Then you don't.
I like bits of them. I've tried, you know, but for me, it's like I can't get out the back of my mind sort of, well, when I was growing up, you know, that was kind of, that prog was kind of shunned for an indie kid, you know.
Yeah.
That my brother was interested, and that was enough to tell me I wasn't interested.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah.
Harold the Barrel. 2 minutes. 2 minute song. Perfect song.
Okay.
Give it a try.
Well,
Those are my 10. Those are my 10.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. That confirms your place in bad taste history.
I knew it was gonna be rough.
Right, shall we let our esteemed guest go next? But before we do, let's just welcome some more people on the channel.
Yes.
We've got people piling in. It's Tokyo Record Style, hello. We've got Nick's Vinyl Butty, hello.
Oh, my man.
So somebody from Tokyo as well. So this is good.
Yes.
Good lad.
Yes, that's right.
Like and subscribe.
An international live stream.
Tokyo Record Style. Look him up on YouTube. He photographs people shopping at record stores all over Tokyo. Great guy, Brian. And wow, and Nick is here.
Nick is here. Zeb is here. Just come in.
I photograph people at record stores. It just got me in a shitload of trouble, to be honest. Anyway, that's another video.
You have to use the right excuse. Do you mind if I just video the records for my disabled friend who can't get in, just so I can try and, you know. Right, Harris Pilton, your house is on fire. What are you going to do, Harris?
Probably not much. I mean, I've got my collection insured actually as a separate thing, so I wouldn't be that bothered. The windfall of cash would be quite handy. But if I did have to go in, I've thought about this, and I've kind of it wouldn't be my top 10 albums or anything like that, because as I get older, the idea of albums becomes less appealing now. I'm a songs man now, really, and I don't know why. Maybe it's the aging process and time's running out, and I ain't got time to sit there. Like, for instance, Hatful of Hollow by the Smiths is probably one of my favourite ever albums, but I wouldn't rescue that. Do I ever need to hear it again? If I did a top 10 albums on VC, probably 9 of them I wouldn't have listened to for about the last 20 years. So I've tried just to pick songs I still love. I'd definitely go for the first, most important record ever, Spiral Scratch EP by the Buzzcocks. Brought it out on their own label. It's everything, and it's got the song Boredom on it, which is the greatest song. Howard DeVito from Magazine is still in the Buzzcocks at this point. He's lead singer. Boredom is the greatest song ever. It's everything. It contains a 2-note guitar solo. The anti-Michael. which is amazing. And
The punk solo.
And it is everything, every guitar record that's come since about 78 owes something to this record. And they were one of the first punk bands to put it out on their own label. So they always said the Sex Pistols showed that anyone could be in a band, but the Buzzcocks showed that anyone could put out a record, and that was probably more important. And they put the Sex Pistols on at the Lesser Free Trade Hall with the Buzzcocks. Only 150, when no one was putting on the Sex Pistols, 150 people turned up, among which were John Cooper Clarke, Tony Wilson, who went on to form Factory Records, Marky Smith, who went on to form The Four. Mick Hucknall was in the audience. Let's not hold that against them. But yeah, and of course New Order were there as well. So
Barney and Hooky were there, weren't they? Yeah.
Just 150 people were there apparently. The most important record, and Boredom is the greatest song. It's everything I want in a record. Boredom. It's amazing. And next up, My Bloody Valentine. You Made Me Realise EP. My Bloody Valentine were an absolute joke in the UK music. They were like you'd get a review and like, this band of crap, but at least they're not My Bloody Valentine. They were like this totally fey indie pile of crap.
Wow.
And then one week, I bought the Enemy and Melody Maker every week, and this was single of the month in 1980, or single of the week, 88. I put it on the record deck, and I could not believe what I heard. It's like this absolutely pile-driving riff with these like really smooth, like cooing vocals. It's really violent and kind of soft at the same time. The track You Made Me Realise, I wish I could go back. You can never go back and hear a record for the first time, can you? I wish you could, because I was sitting there agog, and You Made Me Realise just changed everything. It probably, and it's an amazing EP, 5-track EP. It's all brilliant.
They have a very cult following, don't they?
Yeah,
Bloody Valentine,
yeah, they did it. And of course, Loveless came out. I can't stand Loveless. The album that came after this was Isn't Anything. I love, because it's kind of similar to this. Not quite as good as Loveless. Just bores me shitless. This is dynamics. It's like violent, and it's got melodies, and Loveless just leaves me cold. It really does. I don't know why.
So that's a 12-inch, or that's a full LP?
Yeah, that's a 12-inch EP. Okay. So
and that's interesting that you're saving that, but you don't like other stuff by the band. You just want one particular thing. So the EP. You've zoomed in.
The album Isn't Anything is fantastic as well. It's one of my favourite albums of the 80s, top 10 album for me. But yeah, the same. I remember buying that at HMV for like $2.99. There were about 20 copies. Those things go for insane amounts. I should have bought a lot. It's ridiculous. Next up, I bought the same week, and this was single of the week, the next week, I think. Mudhoney, Touch Me I'm Sick by Mudhoney, which was incredible because I was a big music nut, but like I'd hear things like Steppenwolf's Born to Be Wild and Whole Lot of Love by Zeppelin, and I knew in theory I should like it, but it was kind of rooted in rock, and like old people liked it. You know, everyone's old when you're 17, aren't they? And then they brought out Touch Me I'm Sick. This is another EP. The whole EP is amazing. I bought this the next week after My Bloody Touch Me I'm Sick is just this phenomenal riff. It's like everything I'd want Led Zeppelin to be without the shit. Wow. It's just like the greatest record ever. I've played all these records yesterday, and they still sound phenomenal. The same month, I bought Voodoo Ray by a guy called Gerald, which was really what got me into dance music. It's phenomenal. Never been better. It's like the building block of British dance culture. It's just, I'm sure I think Rob Walker's a fan of this. It's phenomenal. They still drop this in clubs now, and it still goes absolutely berserk. It's just amazing. So I bought these 3 records in a space.
And people are looking around at each other. So you got any E, mate? You know?
Yeah. I mean, actually, I bought this copy about 6 months ago, but I remember buying the cassette, I think, or the 7-inch single, the same month as those, and I was just like, everything's amazing. It's amazing. But yeah, so I've got to have a Voodoo Ray by a guy called Gerald.
Wow. So this is all from a tight period here.
Like, yeah. It was
bang,
really,
bang.
Really, funny enough, it's after because I was a Smiths obsessive growing up, and it probably not coincidentally, it's after the Smiths split. So the music papers were really starting to, because they were so you'll remember, Stevie, the NME was like called the New Morrissey Express, wasn't it? It was just Morrissey every week. Yeah. Every week, and they had that's when they had 300,000 readers and that, and then suddenly they had to, when the Smiths split, they had to do something different, and so they started looking into America and house and dance, and it was amazing. So
you're exclusively listening to dance music these days?
Yeah. I
How do people know that?
About 94, not coincidentally around the time of Oasis. I just thought, I've had it. It's game over for me. I've no interest, and really I've just been electronic, dance, house, hip hop ever since, really. But my bread and butter was alternative guitar music, really. But yeah. Next up, the Jam All Mod Cons.
Okay.
I'm not even a big Jam fan. Stevie, you prefer sound effects, right?
Well, well, let's see what I've got coming up. But
Okay.
yeah, that is a good choice, I have to say.
I think it's a great record. This is me is the best Jam. It's where it all came together. Because the latter albums, I won't steal your thunder too much, but I think they got a bit stylistically a little bit distracted, and I do like them. And the Jam
that is raw Jam right there.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
If you ask 100 Jam fans a favorite album, it would be pretty even across the second, third, and fourth, or third, fourth, and fifth, whatever. But yeah, fantastic album. All Mod Cons. Love it. Next up, probably not as well known, Before Hollywood by the Go-Betweens, which I absolutely love. Imagine if the Smiths and television tried to rewrite Marquee Moon, but on a budget of about £12.50. And I've always loved this record. I just think it's probably the only track that people know, maybe Cattle and Cane. But yeah, it's just a brilliant record. Came out on Rough Trade, and yeah, superb. Michael, this might be one for you. I love it because I just never get bored of it. The Night Tripper, Dr. John.
Great record.
Yeah, man. I just never get it. It's phenomenal, isn't it? It done not great. This is one of those occasions where I think the first press, I think this is the UK first press. Apparently, the latter presses sound better because this is mint condition, but I just never ever get sick of this. It's just this doesn't get talked enough, does it? It's just phenomenal record.
Love that photo.
And this one's more on memories. Growing up, we didn't have many records in the house. We didn't have any record. We had about 15 cassettes, and my mum would just play A Girl Called Dusty, which is monstrously good. And it's like it's a pop songwriting masterclass. Lieber and Stoller, and it's just amazing. And yeah, probably why I like pop music, because I was getting hot housed because my mum would play this every day, every single day, and I just love it, man. I think it's a collection. I'm not sure, but it's fantastic. Same again. I've got to have this British Motown Chartbusters. Just growing up, I've got to go with a Motown comp, and yeah, Motown was pretty huge in the UK. I mean, a lot of the punk bands would quote Motown, like Susie, I think would, and all that lot. You know, Sex Pistols. British punk, a lot of Motown bass lines going on, especially the Buzzcocks. Yeah, that sort of James Jamerson, sort of hoppy bass lines, and yeah, I think most of the punks would have grown up on things like Motown, and I've got to have it. And on a similar trip, I've got to have a Scar compilation, Tighten Up, Volume 2. Again, a big part of growing up in Britain was Scar, as it was Motown. This has got the incredible Live Injection by the Upsetters. I'm always going to want to hear Live Injection by the Upsetters. Long Shot, Kick the Bucket. It's just like
classic.
I mean, this is a Return of Django by the Upsetters. I mean, it's all killer. And these comps, this was what was great. They were bought out for kids, weren't they? Who couldn't afford their singles. So these would be like 49 pence in 1971. So kids could. The idea then was you get records in kids' hands. Now it's like get records in the hands of people over the age of 50. You can afford 200 quid. But you know, it was fantastic. And yeah, Tighten Up Volume 2. I've got to take it. Brilliant.
I mean, that's an important point, because kids today, what is the equivalent for them? You know, downloading crap off of the internet. You know. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, very good. Okay, so shall I go next, or do you want to discuss that, Harris?
No, I mean, as I say, it's just tunes, really. I mean, as I say, bottom line is I'll probably let the whole lot go and take the cash, to be honest. But no, it's just songs I'm not sick of. I'm just not sick of those tunes, and I still play them now. I mean, like I say, if I did my top 20 albums, 18 of them I won't have listened to for 20 years. But you know, so I get tired of everything after a time, you know.
But it's interesting. Some of yours were like from a very specific period, and then you've got a cross section of your eclectic taste to keep you going after the fire. Yeah,
I mean, I did a video about why when you do a top 20 records, they tend to come between the age of 16 and 20, because you're experiencing things for the first time, falling in love, getting a job. Right. Your emotions are all over the place, so you're trying to control your emotions with records. I was reading this book about it, and so it just sticks with you. And of course, the main thing, you don't have a lot of records. You know, PC now, we're all buying 30 records a month. We ain't listening to them. Probably like you two, I was sitting around at 16 with about 11 records. I didn't have any choice to play them.
Well, this is it. You had to save up for an album. Did you buy a couple of singles, or did you forego that, save up for an album? And you got to be laser focused, and maybe you go back the next week. Go to Woolies, like Nick says. Okay, right. Well, your eclectic taste. Now stand by for some very blinkered taste.
Blinkered me.
But I actually was thinking about this yesterday evening when I was putting it together, and this is a different kind of question because okay, your house is on fire, you're panicking, but also you've got a little bit of time to get the records and just select. And I was thinking actually the underlying question here is how you've got to let everything go, but what do you keep to rebuild your collection?
Right.
And what is going to make it hurt? Because it's going to hurt. So what makes it hurt the least? You know, so for me, it's like a question of why couldn't you replace that? You know, so it's not that I could get another copy of that, or I could get a copy of some of it. I thought I cannot replace this, so I'm going to start off with Joy Division and Still.
Nice.
Okay, so we should be making each other big for this, shouldn't we? Right, Joy Division is still, because I can remember sort of listening to Disorder, you know, so I'd got into Joy Division by New Order, and then I backtracked to Joy Division. What can I buy? So the compilation live. So I just thought, there's a lot on here. I don't need to get both LPs. But the fact that this was live and listening to Disorder again woke my brain up to what it was all about. I didn't really get Joy Division until I bought this, and the reason I can't replace this is that it's £3.75 in the racks.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, well, I've got another copy in the cupboard, 180 gram sealed, but I just don't want to open it. This is the one I treasure, so it's a treasure. This one, so I treasure that one.
What's the difference between that and Substance? Is there a difference?
Substance is a collection of New Order's kind of hits.
But didn't Joy Division put out?
Oh, Joy Division had a Substance. Yeah, that's like a collection of hits. This is live, most of it.
Interesting.
I think all of it's live, actually.
Okay.
So it's a double live LP of Joy Division at their best, as it was. Although the peak was actually quite, obviously most of their short career. And similarly, another one, First.
Oh yeah.
First by. Now it's not my favourite New Order records. In fact, I didn't like it when it came out. But it was something you had to have. But now, because I bought it, and again, the label says a lot. Do you remember Armadillo Records? Did you ever go there?
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
That was between top of Holden, I think top of Bournemouth, the Triangle going into Westbourne. Okay. It was halfway between their very famous record store. And I remember agonizing, shall I get this? And I was like disappointed when I got it home. But now I kind of treasure the label. So again, irreplaceable.
Didn't you see that tour? Am I right? In Bournemouth? No?
I saw, no, not that one. No, I did see New Order at the town hall. Then I had a thought, okay, what else is irreplaceable? And this is a recent buy, which you've seen before. So this is Cocteau Twins, Heaven or Las Vegas. First pressing, 35 quid, bargain down to 28 quid, because I don't think I could get it again, not in immaculate condition. So it's Cocteau Twins, So Cocteau Twins, it was a toss-up between Akai Guinea, the 12-inch, because I hadn't seen that for like 20 years available. Yeah. And I spent 15 quid, unlike Harris, who spent like £2.50. Oh yeah, I got this.
I could have got 3 quid.
So then we get into more building blocks. So building blocks, the first Susie and the Banshees albums, Kiss in the Dream House. Again, because it's sentimental value a lot of the time. So I could replace this. I've got an inner with a record, so I've got a spare copy already without an outer sleeve. But it's just the fact that I own this and then gradually got into them. Again, going back to spending, your choice of spending. I had a £5 Christmas record voucher, and I can actually remember in Subway Records in Bournemouth buying this. So U2 War. So again, irreplaceable to me. And I, you know what? I thought I'd never see that really available secondhand. And what did I find yesterday? So I already scuppered myself. Now I'm going to disagree with Harris here because, again, for me, this is actually their best LP, and this is bought back in the day original. And I showed that the other day, I think, on Ian's.
What's the opening track on that?
What's the what?
Opening track.
Oh God, you put me on the spot now. Let's have a look.
It's not green, is it? No. So I get muddled up with that and sound effects all the time.
Yeah, no, you got Girl on the Phone, so there's a
yeah.
light start. Then you got Thick as Thieves is a favourite song of mine. Private Hell, Little Boy Soldiers and Wasteland.
Yeah.
And then you've got the classic Burning Sky, Smithers Jones, Saturday's Kids, brilliant song, Eton Rifles, and a brilliant copy of Heatwave.
Yeah.
Martha and the Vandellas. It's almost like there's a bit of Who in there as well, even though it's Martha and the Vandellas, if you know what I mean. But for me, I've got actually 2 copies of that and sound effects. But sound effects for me is a more hitty kind of just pure songwriting.
Yeah, I know. It's a great record. Any song that mentions slams, good use for me.
When I left school, lying on the bed, thinking, I should. So this is a first press. I don't know if it's first press or third press. It's the one which is supposed to be the best recording of Dark Side of the Moon. So again, irreplaceable.
Who's that by?
Another one. This is going to sound a bit strange, but again, this is something I've had forever. So I've gone for The Doors and Weird Scenes Inside the Gold Mine. So again, it's just I remember listening to the end and thinking, this is what The Doors is about, and that was a bit like Joy Division still, but doing it in the Doors way. So that's another.
Weird. I always think of the Doors as being kind of a bit shy, if I'm honest. And then I hear their singles and songs, and they're like, is there one called Peace Frog or something? I don't know.
Well, I'm not sort of a Doors expert, but for me, it was just like the core of psychedelia.
Yeah.
They're a band I'd love to have seen live in their prime, even though I think the singer Morrison was just a bit of an idiot. But
yeah, I think their singles.
Now, next record is a record I can remember kicking it across the floor and abusing it terribly, and just getting fed up with it. I mean, it was on my bedroom floor for ages, and I'd like kick it around. And then when I got into the vinyl community, I looked it up, and it's actually a first press.
You didn't care.
So 120 quid's worth. So I thought, well, I better keep that just out of loyalty, okay, 2 more to go. Okay, I've got to have at least one. I've got to have one copy, haven't I?
Yes.
Because one copy. I don't know which copy though. I was trying to think which of the few copies I've had I would have, but I just have to grab one. Most of them are sort of original German first pressing. Holland covers.
Never heard it. I honestly.
Yeah, that's a disgrace.
I never know if he's telling the truth.
The greatest. Hang on, sorry. Harris Pilton with the greatest LP, the greatest album ever made.
I said to you in comments, I only like 3 Hugh songs, which is Legal Matter, Circles, and Substitute. But I do think Substitute's one of the greatest songs ever written.
Please don't say that. And the last record, again, it's very nostalgic. My mother used to play this all the time, Morning Town Ride. So I'm just going to take that for the sake of Mom. So that's me. That's my. I'm out of the house. The house is good. Caught fire now. So okay, I do have a bonus feature if we have time, but I don't want to bore you with that. So should we move on?
Yes.
Michael, it's your live stream. You tell us what you want.
Oh, on the bonus feature.
Okay. Next one. Okay.
Right. What is the next one?
Actually, I don't want to do that one. I want to do the Capital Outlay. Do you mind?
Okay.
Actually, no. Let's do this. This is good.
I see you're very organised.
I am very organized. So, shut up.
Where's the agenda?
Music or specific artists you dismissed out of hand, and now you regret that you dismissed them. So, you're young, you're cocky, you think you know, and you develop these biases, and you dismiss music or artists out of hand. You do it for years, and then you become an older man, and then you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Who are those artists? Who are those bands? Who's the genres?
Well, I've just spoken, so Harris, would you like to take that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on it on a video, but my problem, my issue, and you touched on it as well, and just a minute ago, is growing up as an indie kid, prog and noodling. It was the problem I had. Guitar noodling, like Johnny Marr, for instance. I think he's only in the Smiths. He only did one guitar solo in any song. I hated guitar solo noodling.
Yeah.
My dad used to make me watch. I think it was a punishment, Old Grey Whistle Test, and which was always full of noodling. And there'd be like a band called like Coughing Bob's Exploding Medicine Cabinet or something like that. Just some awful band, and all the red flags would be like double-headed guitars and sweating a lot. Any band that sweats a lot, I always had a real problem with. And drums, like drum sets where clearly there's more drums than the drummer clearly needs, and they've always got like the mini tubular bells hanging off the, and like the bird feeder, when the drummer's got like a bird feeder, he sort of runs the stick. These are all massive red flags to me. So, and it always seemed to come hand in hand with noodling, like 18-minute. So
noodling and changing halfway through the track into some like jazz bit, and then coming back to the track. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing that for?
Yeah, you're like, this is shit, and you've made it shitter. This can't be right.
What they're actually doing, I mean, I watched a video by Zephyr the other day, a song, and they just changed the genre about 5 times in the track, and then come back to the track just to show how clever Tommy Bolin is on the guitar, and how tight they are as a band. And I was like, look, split it up into 5 songs or shut up,
It's pointless. But anyway, noodling. But recently I kind of got into noodling a little bit. Sort of, it felt like the final Taboo, the Dark Lord's Terrain in a way. And I got into King Crimson, which I quite enjoyed. And an interesting punk band I loved was Black Flag. I always loved Black Flag growing up. And their guitarist, who's one of the most underrated guitarists ever, Greg Ginn, massively influenced by King Crimson. And actually, the song Red, you can hear where Black Flag was starting to go, because Black Flag was stretching out. They'd given up with punk, and they put out an EP called The Process of Weeding Out, which was like progressive. Really enjoy this. Really enjoy Lark's Tongue in Aspic. Love that record. Yep. Can't afford it. I'm trying to get an early copy, and they go for like 50, 60 quid. But interestingly, Michael,
yes,
this is a jaw dropper. This is an absolute jaw dropper of an album, the Mahavishnu Orchestra, which you've just shown.
So you just missed that?
Yeah, because it was noodling, and again, there's a lot of drumming, and there's a bloke who looks like a porn star on keyboards, and again, it's a red flag.
Jan Hammer,
The drumming on this is everything's amazing. It really out the speaker, doesn't it, as well? It really does. Still get this for about 6 or 7 quid.
It's not. People like their later stuff, but I don't like their later stuff. I like that.
I've experimented with their other stuff, and I don't enjoy it at all. Right. And this is fantastic. That's a hell of an album.
Experimental.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Fantastic. Rory Gallagher, really enjoyed it. I mean, I got onto Rory Gallagher a bit like Greg Ginn, because he listened to Rory Gallagher. Johnny Marr's favourite ever guitarist is Rory Gallagher, which seems bizarre because Johnny Marr's never done a guitar solo. Rory Gallagher is all about the guitar solos. This is one of those. Stevie will know this. There's a lot of these, aren't there, Stevie? This is a series of sort of introduction. You get like the Groundhogs and the Pink Fairies and that, and you get them on these. They all look the same. The covers are generic sort of. So this is brilliant. This is well worth getting. This is poppier stuff, and it's stuff like Crest of a Wave. Crest of a Wave is such an amazing tune. I'm Not Awake Yet. There's a Light. I Fall Apart. It's like quite poppy, but it's phenomenal. And I recommend, again, this is like a £5 record. I've played this record about 50 times since I bought it in the last 2 years. It's absolutely amazing. And I mean, this really was the taboo. Allman Brothers.
So you like them now? You didn't like them then?
Yeah, this is a great record. This is an absolute great record. Do you know what? They weren't even the main act on this gig, apparently. I think Johnny Winters.
Really? No.
Yeah, I read
think
something
they
that
were.
Johnny Winters was the main act, and they were support. But yeah, this is what is this called? Live at the Fillmore East. And
Yes.
you know, oh man, I would not touch this with a barge pole. It's fantastic, really fantastic record, and sounds great. And yeah, so that's sort of been noodling. I need to maybe, you know, explore noodling more. But yeah, I really want to get a copy of Lark's Tongue because I love that record. It's great.
Yeah.
I just put it on Spotify.
I mean, the stuff I dismissed, I didn't buy. So I don't, you know, it's like I didn't buy the records, right? But
yeah.
I'm still coming around to them. And I mean, for me, definitely, it was hardcore punk music. Just completely dismissed it. And but you know, when I did those shorts on, you know, I went and I saw Decline of Western Civilization when it first came out, and I really dismissed that out of hand. But when I dissected it doing those shorts, I gained such an appreciation for it because of the showmanship of some of those guys.
Oh yeah,
like the guy from Fear, Vin Rhymes, the way his rapport with the audience, and the guy from Germs.
Darby Crash.
Darby Crash,
Yeah.
and the woman.
Flag on that as well, aren't they?
What's that?
Black Flag are on that, I think, as well.
Yes, they are.
They are.
They're in the film.
Ron Ray.
But you know, like the Cramps, I never took seriously, and I thought they were too camp. I thought they were a joke band, and dismissed them for decades, and only recently have come to appreciate them. Right? I mean, they're not great, but I was like, why? I keep asking myself, why did I dismiss them? I just never. I didn't give them the time of day, right? So, you know, for me, it was just, you know, new wave music, Talking Heads, things of that nature. But anything that was hardcore, I didn't get, right? And conversely, there's a lot of traditional musicians that I dismissed for years. But I really never got into Bob Dylan until kind of recently with Uncle Dan. You know?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I struggle with Dylan.
Great songwriter for somebody to write songs like that so young. That's it for me. And recently I showed with Bob Dylan. My brain's dead. What's his girlfriend's name?
I know.
Joan Baez.
Yeah.
And I was listening to. Is it the day they took Old Dixie down?
Last Waltz.
The band. So I went back and I listened to a version by the band, and I listened to her version live, and I thought there's no comparison here. Her voice, and I was thinking, what is it? And it's like she's got the tempo, the pathos, the ethos, or whatever it is. She's got all those ingredients. This lovely voice cutting through, and the way she plays the guitar, she's playing it right, kind of on the tempo, and you think this is a real sing-along, even though it's a very serious song. She's playing it at a tempo where the whole room could sing along here. The whole concert hall could sing along, and listen to the band. And I thought the band are kind of lumbering from one chords, from one area to another. And I think actually her version is the version live. So sorry, interjecting there, but yeah. So I didn't get into Dylan till quite recently.
Yeah, I'm saying a lot of his covers are made like Fairport Convention covered Percy's song. I don't know if Dylan ever released Percy's song. Actually, I think it might be in a demo. But their version of Percy's song is friggin' amazing. I love it. It's on Heart and Half Bricking, and
yes, I have that. That is great.
Tremendous, isn't it? That song,
yeah.
Really amazing song. And the Birds, obviously, the Birds were fantastic. With them.
Shall I go then?
Please.
Okay. I haven't got them out because I thought I'll be here all day. So I'm just going to sum this up in one phrase: the 80s, because I was very niche 80s. late 70s, and then it's like getting into the Jam, and then from the Jam going back into the Who. Even though I like Tommy, you've got the ska mod revival going on, and then you've got indie coming on, and I'm really fascinated that. And then the early 80s, I was like a fixated indie kid with all New Order, The Cure, Echo and the Bunnymen, the Smiths. Smiths came later, of course, but that vibe, that but always backtracking. But then I thought. I saw an album that my friends used to have, and that was the Human League Dare. Okay, which is the classic sort of electro early 80s, new romantic area. And the reason I didn't like them or Japan was because a couple of my friends in the band went very new romantic and started going to nightclubs wearing those sort of like fake leather jacket sort of night. And I remember overhearing one of them saying, they were getting ready to go out, and it said, "Shall I wear a red sash?" So I thought, oh God, I didn't. So I turned off all that, but I still fancied having a copy of Dare. So I got Dare, and I got a couple of other Human League LPs, which I featured recently. And then I've kind of embraced like the generic 80s. So I was watching Pet Shop Boys, and I thought live, I think it was at Glastonbury or at some concert, and I thought they're actually really brilliant songwriters. So I've started getting a collection of the Pet Shop Boys, and that's led to a collection of ABC, because that 80s sound, that production sound. So I'm filling in all these 80s. I've even got a little collection of Madonna going, because with the 12 inches. That's a little bit inspired by you, Harris. Getting the 12-inch. So I've got 12-inch Pet Shop Boys, 12 inches of ABC, 12 inches of Madonna. So I'm getting a bundle of the iconic generic 80s, because I think there's a lot of good stuff going on there that wasn't my taste at the time. But looking at the Human League, that's probably something I'll more get into. But I'm gonna get the 80s, because I can give those away to like a youngster at some stage, and say, well, this was Lady Gaga before Lady Gaga was Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
right.
The Pet Shop Boys with this latest group before, So I've got the 80s all in a row, a nice collection of 80s, and that'll be in a selection on the Kallax. It will just be 80s, and it'll all be in there. So that's a little side, that's a genre that I couldn't get into because it wasn't cool, it wasn't hip, and I wanted the hip sort of indie stuff, the new wave stuff. That was chart stuff, I didn't want anything in the charts. Right. But then when I look back, and there's a lot of good stuff in the charts that's well produced and almost iconic. So it's like iconic 80s, but not Bronski beat,
No, nothing wrong with Bronski beat, mate.
I rather like Louise from Dare. That was one of my favorite tracks from Human League.
Yeah, well, they're all good tracks on that LP, aren't they? On
that one stood out.
Robbie Williams covered Louise on that album he put out, completely bombed, and they printed about 20 million CDs, and it only sold 1 million. And the rumor is that those CDs are used under motorway bridges and that they've been used in building, because they never has an album bombed so spectacularly as that. I can't remember what the album's called. It came out about 2005.
Is that the beatbox one or something?
Yeah, and I think he covered Louise on that. And they took a bath of about 100 million on that album or something. They got absolutely battered on it.
Well, that was the thing about the 90s. The 90s didn't have that chart stuff of the 80s.
No.
The reason why Robbie Williams was so popular is because there was nothing else decent to challenge him, and kids were mistakenly thought Robbie Williams had something to do with music.
It was a strange time.
Strange. The 90s were difficult for me. Difficult watch, as they say.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's happening in the chat, Michael? Any chat going on?
Well, just random stuff. It's weird because we're having this conversation and we have groups of people, that are chatting, and I like
Nick told me off with my car boot video. He said, "You bloody well go back and get that Cramps picture disc or something like that." And I just thought, no way, you know.
I agree with Nick, by the way. I love the Cramps. I just love the Cramps. But I think I've got everything they've done on. Well, in terms of normal releases, I'm not an obsessive, but yeah.
Have you got a picture disc?
No. What's that? Stay Sick? Was it Stay Sick?
I don't know what it was because I flicked straight past it. You see, I've still got my blinkers on for some things, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay. What's
up? So
carry on.
All right. Let's talk about capital outlay for records, right? And what's your personal situation? What's your strategy? How did you spend money on records in the past compared to now? And what's critical about spending and your ultimate purchases? What are your thoughts about spending culture in the vinyl community as it pertains to records? It's a loaded topic. So I'll go first.
Okay.
I have a contract with Madam, right? And my contract is, if I want to buy a record, I have to sell a record. Okay. And so
it's under the thumb.
I'm actively selling records, and my dogs are tough to sell, you know. And but I sold.
Michael, you're amongst friends here. You can say, I walked down to the end of the road and I've told her I've sold a record, and I smash it and I throw it in the bin, and then I walk back and say, yes, I've sold it. Yeah. Don't worry, dear, I've sold it. I can go and buy that record I want.
Unfortunately, it's verifiable. So I'm not able.
She's checking your receipts as well. That's
so I am very, it's for me, it's very mercurial. So when I add a record, I tend to make sure that I really like it. If I don't like it, I sell it. And if I do like it, I really listen to it a lot. So when I see people who do vinyl hauls, like that video that I just did, where I showed like those 10 or 15 records, that was over a 6-month period, right? So when I see people buying 20 or 30 records at a time, for me, I can't fathom that, because I spend so much time absorbing them. So I kind of look at record collecting like art collecting, right? I bring them on slowly, and if it doesn't work with my collection, I get rid of it. So I can't really gel. I can't really get into these conversations. People are going out and spending hundreds of dollars or hundreds of euros on a single record or a batch of records. For me, it's a foreign thing. No. So that's my story.
I have a theory about that.
Please.
Okay, well, I'll quickly go then. So I started, because I was thinking when we were chatting last time about like the Jam Setting Suns. I was 14. I saw the Jam twice in 1974, age 14, 15. And then I saw them 80, 81, so it's 15, 16. So at the height. But at that time, when I was 14, I had a paper round for 50p. And on the Sunday, I'd do like 2 paper rounds for £1. So that's like 2 records. Or and I just showed you that. So that was a Christmas record token, So Nan gave me a token for £5, and I remember agonizing over that. Shall I get that? Wasn't sure, but then I'm glad I did. And I never really see it. So that was £4.25, and then today that is £6.99.
Okay.
So there's inflation for you. So I mean that's probably a £15 album really these days, collectible. But I thought I'd have a backup. But my because I'm sort of a kind of lowish income doing jobs here and there.
Right.
I restrict my mental kind of state is, it's like shoes. I used to think no more than £20 for a pair of shoes for like the 20 years. But
Right.
now for an album, I think if I can get be enticed for £10 or £10.99, and then if it's something I really want, I'll go to so like 20, 25 quid, like 28 quid for that Cocteau Twins, because that's once in a couple of years or 3 years item. But a tenner a week or £20 a week is the max, and £10 an album. But I don't really want to buy lots of new vinyl. Even if I had the money, I like the thrill of the chase, and to see what comes up. And I've found if you wait, things will come up, and that those surprises are quite nice to savor, rather than throttling the throat of luck to bend to my will sort of thing. But I do think in the VC, particularly in America, you've got people, copy of this, I got a copy of this, you think what is the love behind that? And when I say the TEFL effect, do you remember TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language?
Yes.
I did that in Bournemouth for a while when I was a younger person, and I remember the students used to come out. I'll never forget a Spanish student, right? She was walking to the class. She was a very posh girl, and I said, "Come on, let's. We're late for class. Let's go." And she turned around to me and says, "Stevie, I never rush." And I thought, and so I asked about her background, and she was from like a millionaire horse breeding ranch family somewhere in this nice ranch in Spain, where those Lipinzana horses. And I thought a lot of these kids are like upper middle class kids coming over to learn English. These aren't working class kids I'm teaching. Most of them have rich parents that are rich enough to send the kids over. And I think the VC suffers from the TEFL effect, in that you're looking at retirees who are quite well off, more reasonably well off than I am, and they've got a lot of money to spend. And that's okay, they spend the money, but it's like, I've got a copy of this, got a copy of this. And you don't really see a lot of channels where it's the thrill of the chase. I found this in the charity shop for $6.99. So that's where I am. $6.99, $10.99. I might push the boat out, but I'm trying to be sensible with I did spend a bit to expand the collection, but that was things that I couldn't afford back in the day. But now I've got those things coming into focus in the collection, and I'll start restricting it down and being more fussy. I'm already being a lot more fussy with my vinyl hauls now. I'll do a video once every 3 months, whereas I started off doing it once a month. So that's where I'm at. I think we gave ourselves a header, didn't we? And I put charity shoplifter / negotiator.
Yes.
So that's where
I agree. I mean, look, in my life, I've probably bought about 4,000 records.
Right.
And I've never ordered online, and probably 2,000 of those have come from either secondhand. But I suppose in England, you've got geography on your side. I mean, I'm sitting here now. I've got I'm in a place called the Mutant Mile. Google it. I've got about 35 charity shops within a square mile of me. So in America, that's probably less likely. I'm going to guess.
When you say Mutant Mile, is this sort of like the lower end of town? Yes. Where people are walking around with visible disability benefits, sort of if you Google eligibility.
If you Google the Mutant Mile, it will reveal itself. It's what it's officially known as.
Do you need like a pass to get in? Sort of like, have you got? Let's just check you for weapons or anything like.
You need a pass to get out, mate. It's live. It's improved a lot. It's improved a lot over the last 10 years. I'll say that. So
they put that temperature sensor on your forehead. No, there's no fever today. No.
It's like if you go to a pub and they go, "Have you got any drugs?" They go, "No." They go, "Why not?" It's that sort of vibe. But spending in the VC. I have thought about because I've literally bought records for 40 years. I've seen. My friends are in sort of vinyl. I've worked in record shops. I feel I'm kind of qualified because I've seen.
Okay.
And I'm seeing, and I think it particularly relates to older gentlemen, which we are. A lot of people say, why is it the VC full of old guys? Well, you've got to have a big record collection. Otherwise, if you've only got 15 records, you ain't going to do many channels, are you? So I think that's one of the reasons. But I think there's 3 phases. If you've decided you love music and you're going to buy, the first phase is that glory phase between about 16 to 23, where like you've discovered punk. Like today, some kid discovers punk. He's going through the list of top 100 videos. He's watching Vinyl Richie, all the other. He's picking out the best. It's all killer because he's going through these lists. He's loving it. And he's enjoying those records. They're brilliant. He's bought the Buzzcocks debut. He's bought Sex Pistols. He's listening to the hell out of those. So he's just buying 1 or 2 a month. He's loving it. The danger zone, and this is no judgment for me. I've been in this zone. I can see it in the eyes of people sometimes when they're posting. You get to about 29 to 40. You've got a few more quid. You're earning a bit more money. You've bought all the records that are brilliant, and now you've turned into what I call £75 bloke. And this is lethal. And I've been there. I've been £75.
No.
You every Saturday you go to a record shop because you love buying records, and you've bought all the records you really want, and now you're looking around. But you won't leave that shop until you spend 75 quid or something. And you start sort of buying mid-period Van Morrison albums.
This is like gambling addiction.
Yeah, and it isn't. Record buying is an addiction. It's like any addiction.
Yeah.
And it can, and you start sort of buying these sort of middle of the range, or shelf fillers. Once you start buying shelf fillers, and once the records move onto the carpet, that's the red flag. And to be honest, it does. I mean, I know there's people like I've heard Rob Walker said he buys a lot of records and he's quite happy to, which is brilliant. I say I'm no judgment. However people want to do it. For me, the enjoyment starts fading, and people have mentioned it on PC. I think that you start just accruing insane amounts of records, and ironically, the more you get, the less you listen to. In my experience, and it becomes a bit miserable. And the bottom line is, you've got a load of dead money sitting around. Right. And I think, I've been there. I went there with CDs, actually. I stopped buying vinyl around 97 because vinyl was still kicking along in England, especially dance. I mean, HMV had like a dance section with DJ decks and everything. You could still. So I got into it like those sort of Americana albums on CD, and I would just keep buying them and not listening to them. I had about 400 of these bloody Ryan Adams and Bonnie Prince Billy albums and CDs that I wouldn't listen to, and they were 15 quid a pop, and it's a dangerous phase, and I've sort of got out of it myself. Some people could easily fall into it. I just buy 12-inch singles more or less now, so I still get 3 records. But it's only costing me 9 quid. You know what I mean, or 8 quid, or 7 quid.
Do you know how I handle that? If I'm in the charity shop and I'm umming and ahhing, and I think I'm looking in the wallet, and I think, well, shall I break into my partner's bus money? Or, and then I'm thinking, well, so I have a very strict rule now, and I think. I used to be I'll buy it, and then I used to be I won't buy it, and I'll come back tomorrow if it's still there and I still want it. But now I've perfected, I'll pick it up and think, if I go home now, I picture myself in 3 or 4 hours time, will I regret going back tomorrow and that's not there? And if I say, I think I'll regret that's not, okay, I'll buy it, I'll pay a £5 for it. But if I don't think I'll regret it, actually, I'll put it back and I'll walk out. So that's my test, the golden test.
Yeah, it's a good test.
You start rationalizing things in your mind, don't you?
Because you're having a buzz. You're oh yeah, look at I fancy this, and then you think, okay, picture myself in the future. Do I regret not buying that? I think, oh, shall I go back for it? Because I don't like walking all the way into town again and then it's not there. So I think. Will I regret not getting it? And if I can't say a definite yes, some things you'll see that that's a definite yes. Yeah. Like when I saw that U2 War, even though I've got a copy, I think, well, that's a definite yes because I know I can sell it anyway. Yeah. But I'll have that nice buy. But if I'll give you another example, right? I'll give you an example. Where are we? Stone's rare German compilation, 1979. So I'm looking at this, and there's a lot of. I'm thinking, is it rare? Because normally I would go home and think, well, is that rare? I'll take a picture of it. I'll have a look online because this shop is like a mobility shop, and normally it's cheap stuff. So I think that's got to be worth more. But then I thought, well, I don't quite fancy that, and I put myself the question: Will will I regret not buying that for a fiver? And I think, yeah, I will, because it's got sort of some of the more unusual tracks, and I think I might enjoy that. Do I want to expand my stones sort of section? Yes, I do. Inexperienced with the stones, I thought that would be quite a nice addition. Yes, I'll get it. So that's a yes, But that was a borderline yes, and I had to think about it. But I think I would have fancied it if I'd have sat at home thinking, oh yeah, I should have fancied that.
I think that's sort of so what I call stage 2, 75 quid blow is the danger zone. And I see it a lot in the VC. I think I can see it in people's eyes when I can sense it that they're just what I call the churn. You're starting to churn now, and it's like, and then you sort of move to stage 3, which is you've touched on really, Steve, which is the lethal phase, which is like I was thinking about it, like how like Floyd Mayweather or David Beckham or Lewis Hamilton, they've got so much money, they no longer know what to do with their money, and you'll see pictures of Patrick, and they're wearing like a Louis Vuitton pastel warm-up suit, diamond encrusted, coming out of some camouflage painted car.
It's gone wrong, isn't it?
Sort of thing your mum would dress you as a toddler, but it's cost £1 million because they literally don't know what to do with their money anymore. Right. And they're like, and I think the upper echelons of the VC, I mean, I saw Motley Crue's Bark at the Moon, something, I don't know what it's called, Shout at the Devil, Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil box set, $149.99. No one needs that ever, and I think it all came to a sort of a nadir when that George Harrison All Things Must Pass trunk came out.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Which was like trunk. 900 quid. Now,
I tell you what, the stage 4 cancer sickness record when they do the unboxing video of that trunk, and it's like you've completely lost it, mate.
I do wonder, and again, this is no judgment, and what people choose to do with their money is 100% up to them. And I've been taken in by marketing and market forces, and but I do wonder sometimes if someone didn't have a VC channel, would they buy a lot of this stuff? I don't know.
Well, that's what I was going to chip in, and I don't want to get controversial, but I have seen quite a few videos from certain channels where you've bought that just to make the video. I know you have. That's like a stage 5 sickness.
But it's that. I mean, that £1,000
unnecessary
box set, that was exploitation in plain sight. I mean, the record companies are laughing because a market's been created. Now, on one hand, you could say, well, it's up to you to buy it, but in a way, also the record companies are doing this because they know there's a market out there. Do you know what I mean? And so we're getting a ridiculous. I wanted to, but there's a band called The Replacements, and they've just done a reissue of Tim, which is a notoriously bad record, and they've done it recorded brilliantly with a different remake. I'd love it. It's 90 quid for a single album. Wow. Now they would never have put that out at 90 quid 8 years ago.
No,
they know that this market now is out there, and so. And I've seen VC videos. Saying,
what it is that like they put some feelers out, and some research guy says, what would be your ideal, and how much what's the max you would pay for it? I'll give you an example, like something you love, like the Quadrophenia box set. It's beautifully put together, lovely information, but I'm thinking actually I don't really do CDs, so I wouldn't want that CD. So that's a huge cost for what is essentially paper and CDs. And like the Who's Next box set, that's a huge cost for some lovely thing. But actually, I'm quite interested to have the book, the graphic novel. But the graphic novel is 30 quid. When it comes down to 15, 20 quid, I might get that. But I don't need the rest of it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to be mugged into buying something where I'll never play those CDs, and I know I wouldn't.
I mean, I've seen VC panels, and people I really like and I really respect, nice guys. And they're like, are we being ripped off? I think, well,
yes,
you've created the market.
Right.
Yeah.
They only have to sell 2,000 of these bloody trunks, these Georgia. Wait, there's a few of you here, and the VC is quite powerful. I think people underestimate it. I think it's,
Well, how about the videos and comments like when my Rolling Stones mono box set hasn't arrived yet? It's like that was, to me, that was insanity. It might be a nice box set. I'm sure it is, but insanity.
And of course, the ultimate irony is the only people that will pay £1,000 for All Things Must Pass already own it 16 times. That you're not
Exactly.
going to get your toe in the water and think, oh, I might give this out a go. I'll buy a truck.
What enjoyment, what extra enjoyment
Yeah.
can you get out of that music? Zero. The enjoyment is I own this, you don't own it. You know, you might as well park it on the drive. You know, this is my new. What's that? Is that your new car? Well, I know it's a box set, but it's the equivalent of a new car. So, you.
It came with the Garden Gnome. There was someone on the Hoffman forum complaining about the quality of his Garden Gnome. Oh, well, I think sometimes you've got to go back to when you're 15 years old, and when you first heard All Things Must Pass, you probably loved it. At no point did you think this needs a Garden Gnome. Surely.
It was an expensive record back in the day. That was an expensive purchase.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
Man.
Next one.
Next topic, hot topic. So,
who were your biggest influencers? Friends, family?
Who's going to go for this? Because I'm going to listen to you, but I think I need to go make a coffee. But I'm going to go walkabout. So one of you go.
Okay.
I'll keep listening though.
Okay.
I'll be listening though.
All right. So I was the youngest of three, and my brother was 11 years older. Than me. And when he left for college, he left his records in his bedroom. He didn't take his records to college with him, and he left behind Mothers of Invention. And I was like 10 years old, and my sister conversely left this record, Cheap Thrills, right?
Yeah.
And I thought this was the devil. When I played this as a record and I heard Janis Joplin for the first time, I was like, this is the devil. I'm hearing the devil. And it was so bad. It was so interesting. It was so compelling. And for the mothers, you know, they're talking, they're making jokes, they're making fun of people. So I would go to school armed with these records underneath my arm, right? As like a 10, 11-year-old kid. And all my friends are bringing their Beatles records to school. And there were just a few people among my classmates who showed an interest in the mothers. And through them, I met other people. And these people, these friends that I made in school were they were art students and musicians, kind of misfits. The mothers were my gateway. And I met music students. One fellow I met he started playing brass instruments, and he was super talented. And whatever he did, he became great at. And he picked up the drums, and he decided he was going to be a jazz drummer. And to be a jazz drummer, he would buy things like Ornette Coleman, Beefheart, and other freeform jazz. Now, I didn't like it at all, but it forced me to make a decision. You know, and he helped me understand what I liked and what I didn't like. He actually introduced me to Bloodwind Pig. Funny thing about this fellow, he doesn't listen to music anymore. He progressed on to classical music. He barely listens to classical music anymore. He's a writer.
Yeah.
And I in high school, you know, it was girlfriends who introduced me to Todd Rundgren, or it was a friend who was into prog music. I had one.
So it's for the girlfriends.
Definitely, but I
trying
can't
to impress the girlfriends. Sorry, carry on.
Okay, I had one friend, kind of a savant. He very dry, calm guy, kind of like didn't have much personality. But he loved prog music, and he would say, "Michael, have you heard of Can? No. Have you heard of Man? You know, MAN. This is the stuff I was listening to in high school.
Well,
he was listening to Renaissance, and we discovered Genesis together and Wishbone Ash. And because we were growing up in Long Island, he would drive his Trans Am, take a bunch of us to New York every weekend to go see shows. And so he was probably the most open-minded person about music I've ever met in my life, because he was so accepting. And I always found it interesting. He didn't need the personality. He was just accepting, right? And
So,
so,
if I'm honest, this is sounding a bit like grooming.
what do you mean? Well, kind of.
Ignore it.
I know I'm trying to turn me off my game. Let
Sorry.
me see. That's all right. I think that describes the people. I mean, you go to college and there are strong movements in college, but I think it's the earlier people for me, like at like 10, 11, 12, 13, that really had the strongest influence for me in terms of teaching me how to make decisions about my musical taste, what I liked and what I didn't like, but also people that made it really safe to learn about new things, right? My brother did it for me in absentia, but he did me a big favor. Leaving me those Mother's records was like the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
Because, what were other kids listening to? Simon and Garfunkel and, Messina. Go on.
Didn't you say that a lot of the kids were sort of turning up at school? They had Led Zeppelin under their arm as well, but you were listening to all the prog stuff and.
Yeah. In high school, it was Greasers and the Johns, and you had certain groups that were into prog. You had certain groups that were into Allman Brothers and Logs Messina, and then you had the Grand Funk Railroad Allman Brothers group. I mean, it was really like 3 different groups in high school, and I hung out with the prog people. Although now I appreciate Grand Funk Railroad. I don't think they're great, but I appreciate it. I kind of dismissed them out of hand. I should have lumped them in. Yeah. There you
go. I've got kind of a similar thing because I'm an child, and there weren't a lot of records. I mean, in our house, my mum and dad were pretty pragmatic people. Records were seen as luxury items, really. I mean, and people just didn't used to buy records like they do now back then. I don't know anyone whose dad had a huge record collection. I don't know. You may disagree, Stevie. I don't know, but records were kind of a treat. And I remember we used to go to youth. England was very tribal, probably more so than America. I mean, I know you've just described it. I don't. Again, you might agree or disagree, Steve. Mid 80s, it was very tribal. Like we'd go to youth club, so that was it. And you'd have the Gothics in one corner.
Yeah.
You'd have the New Romantics sort of sitting in another corner. There were no punks. This was around 83, 84. My memory is no one was into punk by then. Punk had just died, but there were still skinheads. They were real bad news. And they'd wear like the 18-old blood red Doc Martens, jeans, skinhead, obviously, and they were just Herberts. And they would listen to stuff like third generation punk, and they'd be like oi punk, ska, reggae as well, because skinhead's quite a complicated subculture, isn't it? It's been labelled sometimes elements of it racist, but of course it came out of a ska. Madam Sin, I think, does a brilliant video.
Well, there were two when I was growing up. There was 2 kind of factions of skinhead. Yeah. There was the kind of don't go near skinhead. Yeah. And then the all right skinheads.
Yeah. There was still a lot of mods because Quadrophenia was shown last night actually on BBC Two. Quadrophenia had come out in '79, so there was still a lot of mods kicking around because of the Jam as well. All in their sort of, what do you call those, ducktail parkers, those green parkers. So you'd have goths, mods, and then you'd have quite a lot of the one that I really liked was the football casuals. Like obviously football violence had probably reached its height around.
It's very popular.
And there was about 10 or 11 kids in our school who used to go to the football to have a massive tear up with whatever opposition fans had come down. But they dressed really smartly. There was a thing on it, casual culture, where it was originally done to put off the police. So if you look really smart, the police wouldn't think you were a football hooligan. But of course, what happened is if you look really smart, the police then associate you. And they'd wear like Sergio Tacchini, Beyond Borgali, Patrick Cox shoes, Farah trousers. And these kids were 13 and they were dripping in about 300 quid's worth of gear. And I was fascinated. This was at youth club and everyone would bring a record in. So the Goths would bring in Sisters of Mercy. The Skins would bring in the Angelic Upstarts or something like that. And the football casuals around our way were really into like 80s soul, like things like Shalimar. It was really bizarre because these were like the toughest kids in school. And they were into stuff like the Fatback Band and Shalimar and, soul music. It was really weird. They were like, and I was fascinated by it. So like, obviously the DJ, to stop everyone just having a massive fight and or at least the mods getting the shit kicked out of them, because the mods were always everyone ganged up against the mods at our school, and they were always running with their little green parkas and bowling shoes. And so everyone brought a record in, and like that was my site, Spotify or something. You know, that was like my internet, because the DJ would play "I Found Loving" by the Fatback Band, which I loved, and that was like the soccer casuals handed him "I Found Loving," and then This Corrosion got handed to him by Who's That by Sisters of Mercy. And then, you know, the heavy metal guys, who were always the softest guys in school, the heavy metal guys, like Iron Maiden, they were always like into Dungeons and Dragons, and their dads worked for IBM. And like, I'm still friends with them on Facebook. They've all gone on to be like captains of industry, those lads. but they'd get to play Run to the Hills by Iron Maiden, the DJ, and it was brilliant. And that's how I learned about all these. Because I look at my videos, I think, why am I into Minor Threat and Barry White equally? You know, there's no because of that kind of upbringing. Because Britain was so tribal, and this big melting pot of music culture would just, you know, come. It was fascinating. I've always been fascinated by it, and I love it. It was great. So that was really my musical upbringing. Why my music?
I think you were slightly later than I was, because the Casuals didn't come in until sometime after for me.
84.
But yeah, I yesterday I was thinking about this, and I've got some really awful photographs to show you. Right, do you remember the 110 camera? Yeah, you know, not 35mm negative. It's like 110, like 11 millimeters of negative. You know, so like full face portrait, you can't recognize who it is. But you know, Michael, you were saying something there about Wishbone Ash, or was it you saying about Wishbone Ash? I mean, my brother again loved Wishbone Ash, and that was another reason why I would never listen ever. I don't think I've ever listened to a single Wishbone Ash record ever since overhearing my brother loving them. You know, so he had a bit of Genesis as well. But then I remember. So I've got some 110 photos here, which is going to make you laugh. So this was the Sex Pistols on TV. So that's a picture off the TV.
Wow.
That's on the Thames. That's gig. That's on a riverboat, I think.
I think it might be. So that's live off the telly. Oh, it's the Sex Pistols. You know, like sort of. So then now
looks awfully green. It looks green.
Yeah, well, it's a 110 camera, and it's God knows anyway.
I think that's the Jubilee gig.
Right now, here's the mod look. Now this is the sort of just as the Dex's, the early Dex's mod look.
Yeah.
So,
and who is that? Who is that?
Guess. Well, I won't say who it is, but you can kind of guess who it is. You know, like little sort of mod around town. You know,
he's skinny.
Yeah. Now this is ultra blurred, but this is actually a parka. This is a red jumper and parka.
Is that a mod parka?
Yeah.
Yeah, that just.
So they used to sell them in Oxfam. I think they were £5 in Oxfam. So you can't see any detail, of course, because it's a 110 negative. But I think that's me 14, 15 years old.
Wow.
With a red jumper. So straight out, like you say, 1979, straight out of an extra from Quadrophenia there. Like almost.
Round our way, all the tribes would get together and just take on the mod. The mods were just running all the time around our way. They were getting battered.
This was a friend of mine. Now talk about Human League Dare. He showed up in his car. So that's his leather jacket. So he's going into New Romantics and you know, pretending that he likes it. This is a strange photograph. This is a friend of mine who I can't even remember his name at school. Him and his brother, right? That's the only photograph I've got of him. He's lying on the floor and we're recarpeting the lounge, it looks like. But him and his brother, they had everything by Slade, everything by Black Sabbath, everything by Pink Floyd. So that's why I never bought those groups.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm sort of getting those groups back again, because I'd go down to his place, and then I had a punk friend. Now get a load of this.
Yeah,
that's my punk. That's my punk friend Simon, who would hang out with a couple of other punk friends. So there's he's looking threatening. Now notice the bands here. He's got UK subs. I don't know where he got his. I don't know where he got the police helmet on. So there's UK subs, and he's got a bit of leopard skin on his jacket that he's had.
He looks like the opposite Charlotte Rampling.
on the back he's got. Can you see there? Subhumans.
Yeah.
Subhumans on the back. This is the band. So this is at the time when we were listening to the Jam a lot, and so three piece band, and it's called the Regatta Beat Contest. Notice the punk in the front looking at us, supporting us there. So, and we got a Union Jack as well. So
don't look at that crowd, Stevie. There could be deck chairs flying at any moment.
There was like the mature bands on the top. Do you know the Regatta Beat? This is in Bournemouth, Winter Gardens. So the big proper bands there. So they let us play as like a junior band. And we actually won this cup. Would you believe, for best junior band? And I think we had to give it back. So there you are. You know, so I've got people influencing me. You know, with Slade, Sabbath, and Pink Floyd, but I'm not buying a single record because I'm going around the house. And my punk friend, he was into everything punk, and then later on it would be Exmal Deutschland and Clan of Zymox. So again, I love that. I love listening to that, but I didn't buy any because he had it all. So now I'm trying to get bits of that, you know, coming in. So you know, and then I, like you, I think we should point out, Michael, that we kind of gave up going into late 80s. I sort of gave up music and going to gigs, and then just had a huge break moving around. So that blinkered is kind of fixed in time, you know, with that special period.
I didn't know you were a musician. I didn't know that. I didn't know you were
I used to play the drums, Michael. Yeah.
How big was your drum set?
Well, I did have a couple more tom-tom drums, but they were quite unstable. As you know, it was an awful kit because the cymbals were out of tune, and you know, but I could play pretty well.
Tubular
bells.
I
haven't played for 40 years yet. So
you didn't have the tubular bells.
No gong, no big gong either.
That's the massive red flag. When when the roadie brings the gong out, mate, you know this ain't going to end well for me.
I could go for two bass players. You see, the thing is, I would want to play like Keith Moon, but Keith Moon doesn't play the drums. He plays a lead instrument. He plays to what everybody else is doing. So I'd like to play like Keith Moon, but I think I'd like John Bonham's kit, to be honest. You know.
You know, you showed that Joy Division record. You'll know this. Joy Division played the Winter Gardens.
I know. I was invited to go.
And well, I went 2 weeks.
That was the third last gig before Ian Curtis took his own life.
I saw Little and Large there 3 weeks earlier. I went on Google to check because my gran used to take me to see Michael Barrymore, Little and Large, Cannon and Ball. And do you know that place, that Winter Gardens? They demolished it. I loved it
a while back, but that had some really famous. The Beatles there, you know. Yeah.
Well, it's like
Beatles played there.
The Mayflower, last place that Bon Scott ever.
I've been to I saw New Order at the Mayflower.
Beatles have played there about 3 times, I think. Buddy Holly played there. It's amazing. You walk past it and you're like, bloody hell.
If you'd have said somewhere in there, I've got a poster, New Order poster from the Mayflower gig.
Really? Yeah. It would have been called the Gaumont then. It was the Gaumont, I think.
I remember it being called the Mayflower, but
right, okay, that's interesting.
But
I'll have to look into that. But it's
I'm not sure about dates.
Last gig Bon Scott ever played, and then he carked it. It's about half a mile down the road. It's mad.
We good? Next one.
Is there another one? I thought that
was
it.
That's one. What's one question?
The grueling schedule. Grueling schedule.
I want to keep it. So, I have a little idea here, and
Michael knows we're not coming back for another one.
We're gonna ask.
He's trying to rinse us.
I am going to put a link out because I think that it's kind of awkward to ask an audience this question.
Oh, God.
I mean, we can answer the chat. Okay. So anybody want to come up here and join us? The topic is whatever you want to ask us. What's one question you want to ask one of us? And you're welcome to come up. But in the meantime, Stevie, if you have a question of me.
Do I have a question of you? I hadn't actually thought of this one, to be honest. Yeah, when are you going to tidy up your flat? You've moved about 6 months ago. Tidy up, damn it.
It takes time. We're downsizing.
Yeah, I know. No, I suppose the question I want to ask you, Michael, is I'm aware, acutely aware. I mean, Todd Rundgren's aside here. You know, I mean, you've spoken passionately about your early love for the hoople, etc. And you're quite a bluesy guy. There's not many bluesy guys in the vinyl community. I don't hear a lot of blues, early rock and roll blues, or early Mott the Hoople. You know what I mean? You seem to be out there or in there on your own. How does it feel?
Well,
is it the case, or am I talking rubbish?
Bobby Gass is a blues hound. You know,
Right.
Our tastes don't match, but he's a bit of a blues hound. Uncle Dan is a blues hound. But no, you're right. There's not a lot of that. I'm not a hard rocker. You know, the thing for me is, like, rock music is pretty simple. And when I'm playing records, I'm kind of after the sonics. Like, I really am into how a record's recorded, how it's constructed, and the creativity.
I imagine for bluesy stuff, it's like, how does this jam with me? You know, because a lot of it is jamming away in a bluesy style. How's it jamming for me? You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's one kind of music I've never really got into the blues ever.
Really?
It's one of the few. I think I would like. What's that? The more rockinger stuff. Like, you know, is it the Howlin' Wolf album with the rocking chair on the front? I think it is.
That is Howlin' Wolf. Yes.
And there's that one where there's a wolf literally howling in the moon. Those two albums I've listened to on Spotify, and I really like a lot. You can hear a lot of the Rolling Stones in some of that stuff. Which which is pretty obvious. The Rolling Stones, but I'm probably, you know, Lead Belly and that is probably never gonna float my boat if I'm honest.
No.
And who's the guy that was found at the crossroads and sold his soul? Robert Johnson. Yeah, something like Robert Johnson. Here he is. Bloody hell. Hello, Ian.
Hello, Ian.
Ian, I was just thinking about you, because going back to what we were saying about some kids were being goth, and when I think of Ian, I think of two kids I used to see, and they were quite sort of soft kids, and then all of a sudden they had leather jackets, and then all of a sudden they had Motorhead and Queen albums under their arm, you know, and they were the heavy rockers. They became the heavy rockers, and here's one just come in. It's Ian.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was the denim because of Quo.
Right. Oh, because of Quo. Yeah, you got to have denim.
It was denim jackets, denim waistcoats, white baseball boots, ripped jeans. But yeah, I mean, I was into rock, but that goes back to my dad. Like that question, my dad was sort of influenced music in Northampton in the 50s. He was in bands at 16 playing rock and roll, so he had an immense collection. And so that's where my love, and I just was you know, when you get to 12, 13, when you're really getting into your music, I started to go off on my own thing. And then the new wave of British heavy metal hit us like a ton of bricks. And that was me.
Yeah.
Gone. And yeah, I mean, but going to blues, I love the blues, and I love the traditional blues. Like Harris said, Robert Johnson, John Lee Hooker, B.B. King, Bone Walker, Elmore James. But there's not many other sort of thing. And if you put videos up about it, they sort of don't get many views. There is not enough. I mean, I did.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's quite niche, isn't it? It's quite niche.
It is a niche.
Ian, my first love was Status Quo. First record I ever bought was Spotlight on Status Quo, which was one of those like generic greatest hits. You'd have Spotlight on Al Green, Spotlight, and it was everything from the psychedelic stuff up to about Mark Kelly's Greasy Spoon, I think. It was and it had pictures on it. Ice in the Sun. I love those.
Classic.
Are you growing tired of my love? I love that song. But yeah, I'm guessing you don't like that period as much, is that?
I like Quo. I'd say I have periods. I have the early Quo. up until about 83.
They've worn out the 3 chords.
Yeah, they all went silly, but their last albums I quite like. But you saying about, your first topic about fire.
Yeah.
My record collection was in a house fire.
Really?
Oh no.
But
No way. So you've just
Wouldn't have been a
been
good
crying.
panelist.
But I had 2 firemen that could see, and they brought up. It was in like a big wooden case, all my records then, and it was starting to scorch. So I was outside, and that's all I was worried about. My record collection.
What a story!
And out they come through the garage with my record collection.
Hang on a minute. You're not saying, guys, forget the kids. The records are in the other room.
They were in the room that was on fire, and they come out and they brought it up to me because I was freak. It's not a nice thing to be when you see.
No.
I mean, I was in my 20s, not a bit early because I'd gone home because I'd my marriage.
In your 20s, you could still rebuild. Come on.
Well, I don't know how old I was, but I'd not been back home because my marriage went down the pan. And the guy brought them out, and they said, "These must be yours." And one of the records that was resolved was that.
Here we go. Oh yeah,
here we go.
That was the classic one.
That was the thing is, it was the very first choir album I brought with my own money. Very special. The only record, right, that really suffered during the fire was this one.
I've got 2 copies of that if you want one.
I don't know if you can see, but it's a little bit.
That's dished, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here he comes.
Oh.
Yeah, so I would like another copy of that because it doesn't play properly, but I've kept it to remind me. You see, look, you can do this with it.
Yeah.
It's like a wobble board now. So I only kept on saying, but you know what I mean, a wobble board. But yeah, that was the only. Yeah, that was the only casualty because it was against the wood that was scorched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a question.
So,
do you have a question that you've always wanted to ask any of us?
That's what I was just about to say.
The question is, Stevie, how many copies of Quadrophenia have got, and have you got all these the shorts you do of the Who? Have you got a stack of videos, or are you taking it off YouTube?
Well, your first question, I would answer that, but I was going to do a competition, and one of the questions would be how many copies of Quadrophenia I have.
Leave that for your competition then.
All right, I have shown that in a video, but it's a trick question because I've added maybe 1, 2, or maybe 3 times in other videos. Maybe it's a bit much, but it's in double figures, so but not quite 20 yet.
Narrowed the.
What was the second part of the question? The videos came from the Who ones have come from 3 documentaries. One is the Quadrophenia Can You See the Real Me? So I downloaded the documentary and have spliced it up. Although I haven't just cut it out, I've rejigged things, and then I did the Who's Next classic album documentary, which I've rejigged, and the current one, which is bombing and not getting very many views, but I quite like it anyway. It's not as good a documentary. It's the Tommy documentary from the 90s, which is not a very good documentary, to be honest. And that I've had to rejig a lot because a lot of it was about the Broadway production of it, and a lot of that footage really sucks. So I've had to sort of rejig. So I just like messing about really with the shorts and with the editor, and try to get things either shorter or just under 59 seconds, but just timing it so it makes sense. But the Quadrophenia documentary was definitely very popular. I got a ton of subs. A couple of those went riot. So, but those days are over now. So.
Yeah, I love that you're Quadrophenia because I found out things.
It's a very good documentary. Yeah, very good.
I feels like I've watched the whole thing without even watching it properly.
You know the thing I'm aware of, really. I think the underlying thing there is I've noticed is Pete Townsend is very particular about curating like the legacy of the Who and the different works he's done. So the later document, I think, Can You See the Room? He was 2012, and you could see his input, and he's really kind of mapped out how this documentary is going to go. And the editors have done a fantastic job of filming it and do it. You can see that whoever's in charge, they really know their stuff and they've really got into the album. So the documentary really shines with all the information about all the songs. It's a masterpiece, really, of editing. And of course, doing the shorts, I didn't really have to do much on a lot of them because the editing is so good. So you do a short like that, and you really benefit from their editing. You know what I mean. So you're letting bits run, and you think this looks pretty good. But I quite like the challenge of trying to make it kind of interesting, or a little bit, so you'd want to watch it, which is, I guess, is what a short is.
Yes.
But I prefer the videos.
That was going to be my question to you, Stevie, about it. Sure. I thought, do you enjoy the shorts, or would you rather do the videos? Because I've thought about a short, but I can't really think of a format to do it in that isn't just.
Yeah, the shorts are very different. I find the shorts fascinating because it's a very different format, and you think you're trying to entice maybe a youngster to get interested in something, and just watch this for 59 seconds, and you might get into something, but or it's kind of like a trash format. So it's a very sort of strange format. But the video is the one I prefer, but you're not necessarily going to get a lot of views, which I think Ian might agree with. You
remember those Levi commercials, Nick Kamen? They did Sam Cooke's Wonderful World. So that's a 30-second commercial.
Yeah.
That 30-second commercial with Sam Cooke's Wonderful World is responsible for about 2,000 soul records in my collection. So it can happen. I literally blew my mind. Blew me head off hearing it. I just thought it's great. Went out and bought Sam Cooke. Before long, I've got bloody James Brown. This, that, the other.
But that would be my tip. Is like find something that's well edited anyway, and you could ride on the back of that. That would make you look good if you're don't really know what you're doing. Because if you try and find different bits of footage and create that kind of style, I think you've got to keep things changing to keep people watching, and that kind of jigs the algorithm.
Yeah.
I'm still going to find that out because I'm putting together a little mini documentary.
Yeah, give it a go. Yeah,
this is going to be a challenge.
The problem with YouTube isn't very friendly, and they keep changing the algorithm. So they keep buggering about with it, and it's very difficult to keep track of what they're doing.
Yeah, I might use their music from their library for the backing because it's not going to get.
I mean, if you want, Ian, I can have a go. I'll make a short for you and email it to you or something like that, and you can stick it on and see how it goes.
He did that with some blues.
I made Michael a couple of shorts. Just have a go.
And once you see it, you can see how the construction happens. It's actually a good thing. I mean,
but the problem is you need to get if you're starting out on it, as I'm sure you know, Ian, you need to get a grip of an editor, really, and just get to grip of the basics of an editor.
Yeah, I've got a very good editor in my what I use for my videos.
Flash, that's a good comment.
Ed lives on the Mutant Mile. It's bizarre.
Does he really?
We were both watching the same stream. It's Rachel's stream about 3 years ago, and he was like, "We discovered we lived about 5 minutes." He's a great bloke, Ed, by the way. He gave me a bag of records that were phenomenal as well.
So I got a question for you, Harris. Do you have an interest in turning your camera away from you and onto other subjects? So
sorry, carry on, mate.
What's that?
No, you carry on. Sorry, what you asking?
Okay. Well, that was
there's a little bit of echo. Is that you, Ian? You're not echoing.
Shouldn't be.
You've got a tab open or something.
My YouTube's actually muted.
To answer your question, Michael, no, I've just done these sort of show and tell videos, but I would quite like to because I do a lot of. There are a lot of charity shops around here, and you do find gold. And we got an Oxfam, but we got an Oxfam music. which is a
Yeah.
sells vinyl. So you get a lot of good stuff in there, and they price reasonably. They take median. So let's just say the Queen is Dead by the Smiths. Let's just say that median is now about 40 quid. They would stick it on for about 25, 30, which I don't mind, because people say, oh, it's a charity, it should be £3 or £4. I'll tell you right now, as someone who's worked in music shops, you stick Queen is Dead on for £5, you'll have record dealers outside your shop at 6 a.m. They're just take armfuls of the lot. So they've got to pitch it somewhere above dealer, so there's no meat in it for the dealer, so 28, 29.
Yeah,
happy to pitch it below. And yeah, Oxfam Music's great. I mean, I get the feeling, because it's an Oxfam Music shop, anything that goes into main sorting office, I assume Oxfam do a lot of house clearances and that, they get the pick of it. So it's because a lot of people say, oh, you find really good stuff in charity shop. I think it's because I've got that Oxfam Music, because you know, you go in there, there'll always be a copy of Dark Side for a tenner, and you know, that sort of stuff you like, Michael. There's bits and bobs, you know, but as Stevie and Ian will tell you, I'm sure it's just luck. You get there in the right time, you know. And it's luck.
Well, this is it. I don't have much availability. I've only got 2 or 3 charity shops, or you know, I have to get in the car and go to Exeter or Plymouth or something. But the local charity shop does have, it's quite enticing. So because it will have the odd good bargain, but I know the right day to go on at the right time when he puts the records out. You know, having said that, you know, I went yesterday and got that U2 on a Saturday. So sometimes it changes, you know. Yeah,
it's luck of the draw, mate, isn't it? But earlier you get there. But I found that Lars album. I mean, I was in Oxfam Furniture there, and they've got the album for about 12 quid. They've got James Brown's Sex Machine live album. That's a great album. They got that on for 14. I mean, they're pretty decent prices, and there's some great stuff there. There's some great stuff.
Can you photograph in a charity shop? Can you take video in a charity shop?
Yeah. On my community tab, I put stuff when I see it. There's stuff there. So that's the closest I've come from not. But yeah, it would be good, Michael, actually. But I'd have to look into it and see. You know, I'm sure it's not difficult, but I just can't be. But as I said, my whole life is taking the shortest route from A to B. So just hitting a button and chatting is So it would be interesting. I think it would get some interest as well. I think when you do those record shop videos, they tend to blow up, don't they? You know, you almost guaranteed 1,000 views, 2,000 views, and because you get the tire kickers, for want of a better phrase, people that aren't in the VC, that'd be interesting. I know Rob Walker's done a few, hasn't he? They're always really popular.
Yeah, all I just spun about the charity shops. We've got quite a few here in Northampton, but there's some that sell, you know, albums at £2, and you snap them up. And there's one now I go in. There's a guy who was in there, and I said you could sell these, as Steve said, you could sell these at a better price, but still make. I said some of these albums. So when I go in there now, he has put ones aside to say, how much do you think we should sell these for? So I'll get my phone out, go on Discogs, and go, you know, what? I said, I think the other week he had Wish You Were Here.
Yeah.
And he says, I had an argument. They wanted to put it at £2 like every album. I said, wow. You don't put this at £2 a quid.
You should have said no. I'll give you £2.50 for that.
So when I showed him on Discogs, he called it. He says, "There you go. That's how much it goes for." I said, if you put a tenner on that, you would still sell it.
Easy.
Yeah. And I walked it the next time I went in. I said, "Did you sell it?" He said, "We sold it the next day for a tenner."
Yeah.
He said, "I finally convinced the people in the shop, because he's like the manager that paid everyone else as a volunteer." He said, "I convinced them that sell them a bit more," but they said that's what we're not about.
No,
people will buy it.
Yeah, there's a balancing act, because you stick them on cheap. I tell you, I know a lot of record dealers. They scour charity shops. You know, if you start whacking on the Queen is Dead or Dark Side for £3, they're just going to pick them up and flip them. You know,
it's like this, isn't it? We'll go and buy them, won't we?
Yeah. So how much is what record were you saying? Would you say it's The Wall, Pink Floyd?
No.
Wish You Were Here. So what is that? Is that a £40 record? Is that 30?
An original, probably. You know, roughly. I think I saw the one I looked at was 35.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
35 quid. So they sold it for a tenner.
Yeah.
So they made money on it.
Yeah, everyone's happy.
So they got good quality records at charity shops. I mean, they're not beat to shit. They're
This was a very, because I've got it out and it's as good nick as mine. So I said, yeah, this isn't. I checked it again. You know, I said it's got the original blue label. You know, for the machine bit, and I said, anything else? Oh, there's some postcards in it. So you go, yeah, this is. Thing. Your James Last, sell it for £2 all day, and your Mantravani.
Yeah, it depends on, because I know the guys in both shops now, right? So I know that this guy will he's machine cleaned this and he's played it. And I know if there was any scratches, he would say so.
Right.
Same with this guy. He always puts a very detailed label about if there's any scratches or blips or noise. So there's kind of like a buy with confidence. They used to have a kind of special needs guy who would eat his sandwiches over the record.
Right.
You know, I've actually got crumbs. I've taken the record. There's like crumbs coming out. That's a crumbs getting like.
So it sounds like it's dried up, right? I mean, your only sources are these charity shops for.
You can pay, because people really try it on eBay. It's like a no-go. Discogs, you take your chance, or other online. Other than that, it's dealers or shops or charity shops.
Richard's just hello, Richard. By the way, I'm not spoken to Richard either. Yeah, mate, I do. I sold the lot. Smiths. He's asking whether I've got any Smiths 12-inch singles. I sold the lot in about '92 for about 30 quid, which was the going rate. That's about the going rate. I sold them to a shop. And I'm slowly piecing them back together now at about 25 quid each. But I sold them for about £2 each, which was kind of what it was. I mean, if you went into a second-hand record shop in '92, how much was the Smith 12-inch single? £4, probably.
Yeah.
£5. So I was getting £2 on the. But yeah, I've got about 12 back, 12 or 13, and yeah, they go for big money.
There's a question for you, Harris, because you remember I cried when I watched your video. So, yeah, I've got this cocktail tins at High Guinea. No, I don't know anything about it. It's just, quite like the cocktail tin. I'm like, I've been looking for that for years. But I just think, the Smiths, I've got the original 12-inch Boy with the Thorn in his side. I just think the Smiths, it's really... I might get one or two albums if it's priced okay, which it won't be. But I'm just not gonna go there with the 12 inches. My life is too short, and I haven't got the money. I just think it's a fool's errand now. Same with like the Cure. If you wanted the full set of albums with the Cure, on my kind of budget outlook, I would just say, "Oh, forget it."
The Smiths are a bit of a special case because one, they're beautiful. They look beautiful.
Yeah,
I think that's hyped up. Cure 12-inch singles don't go for anything else like the Smiths. The normal ones, sort of the 84, 87, they look amazing. The production on that, they look incredible. Joe Slee, and also the Smiths are renowned for putting their best songs on the B-side. How Soon Is Now was a B-side, and then they on Hatfield Apollo, they finally released it as a single. Well, any Smith fan like me already had it in their collection 3 times, so that's why it only got to number 28 in the charts or something, because they'd already whacked it on a B-side, on a 12-inch single. And,
Marillion had a habit of doing that. Marillion had a habit of doing that. Like when they released Assassin, the B-side was a track called Cinderella Search, which should have been on the Fugazi album because it's better instead of Chic Chameleon. But people were buying Assassin purely the Cinderella Search because we'd all heard it at gigs. When you thought, yeah, we've got to get it, and that's the only reason I brought it because.
Ian, did you see that last Records Fair video I did with the signed Fugazi for 125 quid?
Well, I've got a signed uninvited guest. It's not got the Fish Era picture disc.
I've also got a special limited edition treat for Harris here because he was coming on. I got this out of my collection just for you.
Uptown Records. Oh wow, where was that? Oh yeah,
it was in my singles collection around the back of a single.
Old record bag. Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I thought Harris might have been in there, Uptown Records.
I will have. Yeah, definitely.
Original bag for a 7-inch single from Uptown Records.
Yeah. They're getting. Do you know what? They're getting collectible record bags. You can sell
Yeah.
record bags for 60 quid. It's a madhouse, isn't it? If you've got original one, there's a brilliant book out with all British record bags in. It's really cute.
Wow.
But it sounds
And they're
awful, but I was just looking at this. So this Smiths compilation, which is Louder Than Bombs, this was for America only. It got imported back into England, I think. So this was to break the Smiths in America. There's 24 songs on it. I think 11 of them were these songs were B-sides on 12-inch singles. That's how strong the Smith B-sides were. So to try and introduce them to America, they were, I think 12. It opens with "Is It Really So Strange?" That was a B-side. That's the opening track.
I never saw that jacket before. I never saw that.
And it's got Half a Person on it and London. The first 5 tracks, 3 of them were B-sides on 12-inch singles, but they're brilliant. He has Sheila. Who was it? Sheila Delaney, wasn't it? On that Irish poet. I've forgotten her name now. But yeah, Sheila Delaney. That is. She's on another Smith sleeve as well. But yeah, she was a Manchester poet. Yeah, so they're B-sides. You know, to introduce a band, I can't think of any other band where you try and introduce them to the biggest record buying country in the world and put out mostly B-sides on that, till half the B-sides of 12-inch singles. So it comes from the Beatles, doesn't it, and the Stones. That culture in Britain of whacking out singles and making everything.
I'll leave Rob's comment on it for personal motivation.
That's on later, Antiques Roadshow.
I've just seen their topos about Commercial Road in Boscombe. I know where that is because my brother lives that part of the world. He lived in Boscombe, and he lives in Wareham now. But he had a pub in Bournemouth. Can't remember what it was called now, but he had a pub down there. So I know that part of the world quite well.
Yeah.
Would you like my bonus feature?
Yes, please.
I love a bonus feature.
Okay, so we're back. We're going to go backtrack right to the beginning of this video. The house is on fire, right?
I don't know.
And they say, Steve, your record collection is burning down, but your small ante room is still okay. Do you want to nip back in for some 7-inch singles, right? So 10 7-inch singles. So we got New Order, Everything's Gone Green. Harris likes this one, don't you, Harris?
Yeah, I love it. One of the greatest singles of the time.
Okay. We've got the Cure EP, Forest. Okay. Do you know this one, Harris? Tiny Children, Teardrop Explodes.
I don't know the track. Obviously, I know Teardrops, but I can't.
I just really like that track for Teardrop Explodes, Tiny Children. Okay, obviously making an impact there. Another track I used to really love when I was a youngster, the Ramones, Rock and Roll Radio.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, what a good track.
Yeah, that is do you remember Rock and Roll Radio? That's absolute excellent. I used to bop around the room to that, so definitely having that. I've got a couple of these, but I'm going to take one. So that's Susie.
Yeah,
in the shower, and I can't. I'm
sure we bought that record for all the wrong reasons.
I've got a record that was in the week when I was born. It was in the charts.
Oh,
nice.
Can't
can't explain the who.
And do you know who played guitar on this track?
No.
What's it say? Bald-headed
woman. Yeah.
No.
I think you'll find it's Mr. Jimmy Page. So I can't decide whether to have that or a Legal Matter, Instant Party with the Who. But I think because it's Harris, I'm going to go with Substitute.
Oh, it's one of the greatest songs ever.
Greatest songs ever. Because that's on Creation, so that's got Instant Party as well. Or it might be 515. 515. And the last record I'd have was my first ever record.
Oh, that's weird.
Very nice.
So there's a bonus feature for you. Sorry,
Thank
carry
you.
on.
Thank you.
I like that. Right, it's 1 o'clock. I've got a team.
Yep.
So,
We're going to wrap up.
Mike, I really appreciate you doing this, and thank you so much. And nice meeting everyone. Nice meeting you, Ian, as well.
And you, Harris. Yeah, whenever you're free, Thursday nights, you're always welcome.
Yeah, I'll say Thursday.
You need to come. You need to come out to play a bit more, Harris.
Yeah. I should really, but I'm off to try and get back the subscribers. This has lost me, so I will see you later, chaps.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye bye. And I am